In this video, I'm going to show you how I crochet these sweet little speckled eggs. So what you'll need is a 3.5mm crochet hook, tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, and my favorite stitch markers to use for crochet are these made by Cocoa Knits. A felting needle, and any gauge will do. I actually don't know what gauge I have here, but I use any gauge and it works just fine. And some kind of stuffing. This is wool. You can use wool, polyfill, scraps of yarn, but today what I'm going to use is this mixture of chamomile and lavender flowers. And then of course yarn. This is my favorite yarn to use for crochet. It is Malabrigo Worsted, and it's an Aran weight yarn. It's single ply, merino wool, and it is perfect for this project and lots of others. Today I'm going to use the color Natural and the dark brown for the spots of the eggs, which is dark earth. So the first thing you'll do is make a slip knot, and then insert your crochet hook and single crochet 3. And now insert your crochet hook into the first stitch that you made. Yarn over and pull it through both loops to make a slip stitch, and then chain 1. Now insert your hook into the center of that little ring that you just made and single crochet 6 onto the ring. So now that you have 6 stitches on your ring, you will go back to that first one that you made and single crochet 2 into that stitch. And then single crochet 2 into the rest of the 6 stitches, and so you'll have 12 when you're done with this round. So now we're on to the third round, and in this round you will single crochet 1 into that first stitch and then single crochet 1 into the next 2 stitches, and then place a stitch marker into the first stitch in that round. In the next stitch, single crochet 2, and then single crochet 1 into the next 3 stitches. And then single crochet 2 into the next stitch, and single crochet 1 into the next 3 stitches, and then single crochet 2 into the next stitch. And at this point I like to close up that little hole that will be the top of the egg by pulling on the yarn tail. And then we move on to our fourth round. In this fourth round, you will single crochet 1 into the next 2 stitches, and then place your stitch marker into the first stitch in that round. And then single crochet 2 into the next stitch, then single crochet 1 into the next 4 stitches, then single crochet 2 into the next stitch, single crochet 1 into the next 4 stitches, single crochet 2 into the next stitch, and then single crochet 1 into the next 2 stitches, and you are done with that round. So this is the 5th round, and you'll single crochet 1 into the first 2 stitches, and then place your stitch marker into that first stitch in the round, and then single crochet 1 into the next 3 stitches, then single crochet 2 into the next stitch, then single crochet 1 into the next 5 stitches, then single crochet 2 into the next stitch, single crochet 1 into the next 5 stitches, and then single crochet 2 into the last stitch. And for the next 3 rounds, so rounds 6 through 8, you will single crochet 1 into each stitch around. And be sure to place your stitch marker into the first stitch of each round. And then after you've crocheted these 3 rounds, we're on to round 9. And to begin that round, you single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet 1, and place the stitch marker into that first stitch, and then single crochet 1 into the next 4. Then single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet 1 into the next 5 stitches, single crochet 2 together, then single crochet 1 into the next 5 stitches, and then you're done with this round. And at this point, I like to bundle up my yarn end and put it inside the egg to keep it from getting caught in my stitches as I'm crocheting. For round 10, you will single crochet 1, then single crochet 2 together, and then place the stitch marker into the first stitch in that round, and then single crochet 1 and single crochet 2 together, and just continue that pattern around till you get back to the beginning. And now the egg is ready to be stuffed. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are lots of things you can stuff it with, but I've chosen to use dried chamomile and lavender to stuff mine. So it's a little bit messy, so I do this over the bowl and I press down and fill it pretty full so that the egg is nice and firm. And for this very last round, I don't use a stitch marker because we're going to be doing this until the hole closes up. So you are just going to single crochet 2 together all the way around. Just keep single crocheting 2 together until the hole gets too small to crochet through. And I'm doing this over the bowl so that my dried flowers can fall into the bowl because it's inevitable that a few will get pushed out as I'm crocheting. Once that hole is closed up and I can't crochet anymore, I pull a nice long yarn tail and use my tapestry needle to weave in my end. And instead of cutting the yarn, I just use my crochet hook and bundle up the yarn and pull it into the egg so that it acts as a little bit more stuffing for the egg. So now we're done crocheting the egg. The shape's not quite right, but we'll fix that at the end. Now it's time to add the little speckles. So now we move on to adding the speckles. And so I do that with about an arm's length of yarn and my tapestry needle. And so I'm going to make lots of little French knots. And I'm going to do my best to explain how I'm doing this. But so what I do is I insert the needle into any point of the egg really, and then I exit the needle where I want the first speckle to go. And then I wrap it around my needle and hold it kind of tight there, and then put the needle back into the egg just next to where the yarn came out. And then I push the needle out of the egg where I want my next speckle to go. And then I pull that kind of tight, and then I've got a little lump right there, a little French knot. And then I repeat the process and I just keep adding more speckles. Now there's a couple things to keep in mind, and that is you don't want to put your yarn into a very open spot because it will make your French knot just pull right through into the egg. So you want to make sure that you've got you've got yarn around it to hold it in place. Hopefully that makes sense, but once you start making these, you'll see what I mean. There have been quite a few times where I've accidentally pulled a knot through because I didn't have it in a secure enough spot. And then once I've finished a few French knots, I like to snip off the yarn end so that it doesn't get tangled up in what I'm doing. And then once I feel like the egg has enough speckles, I pull the yarn out through any spot on the egg and snip it off. And now this little egg is ready to be shaped by the felting needle. So I start by shaping the bottom of the egg, and so I just use my finger to add a little bit of pressure to sort of help guide the shape. And I'm being very deliberate or mindful of where my finger is and where I'm jabbing that needle into, because it's very painful if you accidentally poke yourself. I'm just doing this over and over until I feel like the fibers are held together and it's got a nice shape at the bottom. And then I do that same process on each of the French knots so that the fibers are compacted and they're flush with the side of the egg. And then the last step I do to shape the egg is roll it in my hands a bit and then just press it into shape. And that's it, the little speckled egg is complete. And in addition to this video tutorial, I've also created a written pattern for this egg, and you can find that linked below.